Favour was a secondary school student in her final year in school. She was born into the family of Mr. Samuel and Mrs. Sandra. She was their only child after 16 years of barrenness. Favour has always been bullied ever since her primary school. They always treated her as less because she was an only child from wealthy parents. Her classmates always laughed at her because of how quiet she was. There was a time in class where she was intimidated because she was the only one who knew the answer to the question the teacher asked. Her classmates were furious, and after the teacher left, they surrounded her and threw things like pencils, books at her. She cried bitterly that day that she couldn't leave the classroom until her driver came to pick her up. She went through this her primary school, her junior secondary school, but during her final year in her senior secondary, one of their new teacher who was a corper called Favour to her office. "Good afternoon, Ma." Favour greeted her as she entered the office. "Good afternoon, dear, have your seat," her teacher instructed her. Favour did shyly. "Okay, I'm going to start straight. Are you okay?" the teacher asked her. "Yes, ma'am," Favour replied innocently. "No, you know what I mean." The teacher pressed on. It was then Favour knew what she was talking about. "Okay, tell me from the beginning," the teacher requested. Favour gave her every information she needed and what happened in her primary school till date. "Do you know you can still regain your stance before you leave this school?" the teacher asked her. "How, Ma?" Favour asked amidst tears. "You can decide to be who you want to be. You can decide to be the type of person people don't talk to anyhow or not. It's all in your hands. Go home and think about it. I hope you come back stronger next term," the teacher said before Favour left. Favour went home thinking about what her teacher told her. It was the end of first term, so she's expecting her to return back as a different person. Favour self-analyzed herself from character to dressing, from dressing to body stature, and so on. She locked herself in her room thinking about it and making researches. Favour has always been the top of the class, which made her a nerd. Everyone saw her as competition in studies but a mere girl in person. Second term came and school resumed. Favour had already planned her new life. She changed her school skirt in a way that it was way shorter than before. She worked on her body in the gym. She changed the style of her hair. The top of her shirt buttons were open that one could almost see her cleavages. She started applying makeup while going to school. She changed the way she walked and everything. The first day she went into school, everyone was starstruck. Even the clique of girls who always mocked and insulted her were amazed. The cutest and hottest guys in school surrounded her and wanted to talk to her. They were amazed at her sudden beauty. Favour was satisfied with what was happening. She changed so much that she spoke to people rudely. One morning, while she was in the convenient, a group of girls who bullied her in the past surrounded her. "What do you want?" Favour asked them with anger painted on her face. "We are going to deal with you, and after that, you will learn," their leader said before rushing to Favour, but Favour was faster than her. Favour punched her and she fell to the ground. The rest of them withdrew. The girl stood up and went to Favour again, but this time Favour pushed her out in the public where everyone laughed at her. She ran away in shame. As all these were going on, there was a particular boy in Favour's class who had been watching her. He's been closely watching her. He started coming closer to her by sitting close to her during lectures. "My name is Daniel," he introduced himself to Favour. They both started hanging out, especially during holidays. Everyone began to dislike Favour and her new profound character. During their graduation, Favour was the best dressed, in a black dinner gown and a face mask. Everyone was astonished at how hot she was looking. She was full with pride and arrogance. Daniel looked elegant in his blue suit. After the celebration, Favour was too drunk that she couldn't go home. Daniel took her to his house where they both slept together. It was Ella's first time sleeping with a guy. The next morning, Daniel's voice woke her up. "Get up, Favour. You need to get going," he told her. I want to stay for some time," she said, still sleepy. "Come on, get up." Daniel yelled at her with anger this time. Favour rose from the bed and wore her clothes. She angrily left the house and met with her driver, who was waiting for her downstairs. She didn't speak to Daniel until one morning, while she was having breakfast with her parents at the dining table. She ran to the toilet and threw up. "What is wrong with you, dear?" Mrs. Sandra asked Favour with worry. "I'm okay, Mom. I think it's malaria," Favour denied. "We will get a test done at the hospital," Mr. Samuel said. "No, Dad, I'm okay," Favour lied. They kept on eating with Ella sad. They drove to the hospital and ran the tests. The doctor came back with the results looking sad. "What is it, doctor?" Mrs. Sandra asked him with worry. "Favour is 2 weeks pregnant," he said. Mr. Samuel and Mrs. Sandra were quiet for a while. They didn't know how to react to the news. They took Favour home without saying a word to her nor each other. Later that night, Sandra and Samuel both had a heated argument that made Favour weep. She cried all night. She started regretting how she lived her life. She reminisced on how bad her life had gone. After so many thoughts, she thought of aborting the baby, but Samuel and Sandra weren't in support of it. "You're keeping the baby and that's it," Sandra told her. "Who is the father of this child?" Samuel asked her calmly one morning in the living room. Favour couldn't say a word. She was scared that Daniel won't accept her or their baby. "I won't ask you this question again," Samuel said angrily. "It's Daniel, my classmate." Favour spilled the beans. "The barrister's son?" Samuel questioned. "Yes," Favour replied. Without saying a word, Samuel took Favour to Daniel's home, where he caused a scene. Matthew, Daniel's father, warned Samuel to leave before he called the police on him. Favour quietly walked to Daniel, who stood away. "It's your baby, Dan." "Our baby," Favour said with tears in her eyes. "It's not my child, Favour. Don't ever come here to say thrash," Daniel said before leaving. Favour's heart was broken at this point. She didn't know what to do. She was deeply confused. When they got back home, she almost ended her life by trying to jump off their story building. Luckily, Samuel was close enough to stop her. For complete 6 months, she didn't get herself. Sandra helped her and the baby. Sandra took care of her daughter even until the day she gave birth. Favour gave birth to a baby boy. He looked so much like Daniel. It was already 1 year since she finished her secondary school education. She went back to school. She got admission into a private university in Lagos, where she studied law, which has always been her dream. Jasper, Favour's son, was 6-year-old when Favour graduated from the university. He grew so fast that he looked more like his father, Daniel. 6 years had passed and Favour didn't hear from Daniel, neither had she seen him. Favour finally got a job in a law firm and she stood out. She never lost any case. Her name flew over the streets and cities in Lagos. One morning, while she was in her office, she received a call from a woman. "Hello, please, I want to speak with Barrister Favour," the woman requested. "You're on with her," Favour said. "Please, I got your contact from a close friend who referred you to me. I heard you never fail any case. Please help my son. He got back from London and was caught with drugs in his bag. Right now he's at the embassy ready to be taken to prison. Please help me, my daughter." The woman cried over the phone. Okay, ma. Could we meet at a SOT so we can discuss this very well? Favour suggested. Okay. Thank you. Send me the location, the woman said before hanging up. Favour did just that and started heading to the location. It was at a restaurant. Favour waited before the woman came. She looked so worried. Favour made her sign some papers and they made an agreement. The day came for Favour to meet with her son at the police station. The moment she saw him, she was shocked. Standing before her was Daniel looking dejected. Favour, Daniel said with tears in his eyes. Daniel. Favour stuttered with tears in her eyes. Daniel's mom was confused at what was happening. What is going on? Do you two know each other? She asked. No, I can't do this, Favour said before running off. She couldn't handle or face Daniel after what he did to her. That pain was still there. It flashed back to her like a memory, those painful moments she went through alone when she needed him beside her. Favour stopped picking Daniel's mother's calls. She knew she promised to help her out, but part of her wasn't ready to forgive him yet. One afternoon, while she was at her office, Daniel's mother visited her. She cried and pleaded with her. She went further to apologize on behalf of Daniel and said they were ready to pay whatever she wanted, especially for Jasper. Favour rejected their offer because she too was wealthy enough to fend for both her and her son. Favour went back home that day looking sad. Sandra was at home taking care of Jasper when Favour came in. "What is it, dear? You look so stressed out," Sandra asked her with worry. Favour cried and explained everything to her. "Look, dear, I know you are still angry at Daniel, which you have to be, but for the sake of his mother, just save him. I understand the pain of a mother losing a child. You are also a mother and I know you understand how it feels. Just for his mother's sake." Sandra pleaded with Favour that night. The next morning, Favour called Daniel's mother and told her she was ready to help. Favour started by going to the prison to listen to Daniel's side of the story. Daniel couldn't stare at Favour in the eyes. He was filled with guilt. "How did it happen?" Favour asked with seriousness. "I was coming back from school in London when a guy gave his bag to me to hold, and that was it. He came back and when they were searching our bags, they found drugs in his bag and he told the officers that I was his accomplice. Favour, I don't know that guy, I promise," he said. "Did he also put charges on you?" Favour asked, taking notes. "Yes. He's also going for court hearing. They've been waiting for me to get my own lawyer," Daniel told her. "Okay. We are done," Favour said as she packed up to leave. "How is he?" Daniel suddenly asked, causing a great silence in the room. Favour contemplated on whether to reply him or not. She decided to keep silent and leave. She didn't want to start getting attached to him. It was a mistake she was never going to make again. The day of the court hearing came and Daniel and the other boy were brought before everyone. The boy's lawyer spoke, dropping evidences until Favour was told to defend her client, Daniel. "My lord, my client here is innocent. He was only traveling back to Nigeria from London when the culprit here handed him his bag and after being caught, blamed my client, my lord," Favour stated. "Objection, my lord," the boy's lawyer interjected. "Objection denied," the judge said. Favour suddenly went to her bag and brought out a CCTV footage. Everyone in the room were quiet and patiently waiting for what was about to happen. Favour played the footage and everyone saw Daniel going to the airport alone and when the boy handed the bag over to Daniel. The courtroom was filled with murmuring until the judges decided to make their final verdict. From the evidences brought from the two sides, Mr. Daniel is pleaded innocent and Mr. Pascal is guilty of the claims. The judge said. Daniel's family were excited. Favour quickly left and drove off in her car without waiting for anyone to thank her or anything. Favour was in her office one morning when Daniel, his mother and Mr. Matthew walked in. "What do you guys want again? Haven't I helped already?" Favour asked. "Please just listen to us," Daniel's father said. "We are deeply sorry for what we did to you, dear. I was ashamed when I found out you were the one." Mr. Matthew apologized. I'm sorry for not being there. I'm sorry for lying and leaving you. Please find a place in your heart to forgive me." Daniel apologized, almost tearing up. Favour broke into tears. She just cried without saying a word. Daniel walked to her and hugged her. "I'm sorry," he apologized. After some time, she forgave them. "Come to think of it, how did you manage to get that CCTV?" Daniel's mother asked Favour. "Just as you heard, I don't like losing a case no matter who you are. I have some connections at the airport, so it wasn't that hard," Favour said. Daniel met with Jasper, who was so happy to finally see his father. Few years later, Daniel proposed to Favour. At first she didn't want it, but she later accepted when she saw he was true about it, and they got married.